Well, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. It is Dr. Brandi B. And I am running late today, but guess what? We are here for Focus on It Friday. Come on in, come on in, come on in. We have a lot of people who have been watching me. I know. But guess what? Some people say, well, what do you do? Who are you? And why should we even listen to you? And I'm going to tell you all about it today. Come on in and hear what Dr. Brandi B has to say. My phone was buzzing. Are we having it today? Are we having it today? Guess what? We are absolutely having it today. We are having Focus on It Friday. I just need to get everything set up and then we will get started. I'm going to pin today's to the top of my page, and then we will go ahead and get started. We've got Miss Catrice Maddox here. Great day, Dr. Brandi, she says, and I say that right back to you. We've got Miss Misty Tucker says, hello, Doc. Hello, all the way over from the northwestern part of the state. We've got Miss Irma Gormasora. She says, I've been looking for you. I'm so glad you're here. Running a little bit late today because Dr. Brandi B has kids, and y'all know we have to take care of the kids. We've got Miss Belinda Jones is here. She says, hello. Mama Rudolph is here. Nia Nicole, hello. We've got Miss Betty Jeffers. Hello. I've been waiting all week for this. She says, oh my goodness, and we are so glad to have you here. Go ahead and tag some people, share the video, let some people know this is where you want to be. And if you've been wondering who in the world this lady is, she's going to tell you today. So guess what? You don't have to wonder for long. You do not have to wonder for long. I want everybody to know who I am, as they say, from the horse's mouth. So come on in here. Let us get started. I'm so excited to have you all here today with me. And I am going to get right to it. Y'all know I just have to share everything. And until I get my staff up and running, I have to do it all myself. We were on vacation this week. It's always good to relax, relate, and release. And so that's what we did. But I still work. But next week, I won't be working. All right. So just give me a few more minutes and then we'll go ahead and get started. And yes. All right. Perfect. All right. Here we go. I think we are good today. I think we are good. Is everybody having a good day? It's sunshiny here. It's not too cold. It's not too hot. It is just right. And that is exactly how I like it. Let's see who else we have. Miss Chiquita, Truly Love 3. Nia Nicole says, I was just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Could ADHD meds affect my diabetes? If you didn't ask that question, someone else did previously. And so the answer to that question is that it is not very likely, except that your ADHD medicines can impact your appetite. And so depending upon what type of insulin you're taking, if you're taking insulin with type 1, you might be, it may impact your appetite and therefore the foods that you bring in. Ms. Melinda Jones says, thank God. Yes, ma'am. I am here. So we want to really thank you all for joining us today. I am so excited to have you all. Let me turn myself down over there and we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm Dr. Brandi B, your triple board certified pediatrician, adult psychiatrist, and child and adolescent psychiatrist. And through my Facebook live stream, Focus on It Friday, I help moms, dads, and all who love children gain all the information that they need so that they can help their children be successful in the classroom and in life. And that ultimately they can help them shine and be a superstar. So a lot of you all have said to me, in private, in my private Facebook page, or even here, well, who are you and what do you do? And so I wanted to take a few minutes to tell you who I am. So I am Dr. Brandi Rudolph Bowling. I was born in Birmingham, Alabama. I attended initially private schools and then ultimately went to Birmingham City Schools for my adult or my high school education rather. And I finished Ramsey High School here in Birmingham. After finishing high school, I then went to Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. Thought I would be a biosciences or microbiology major, and quickly found out that was not what I was cut out to do. But I was not leaving empty handed. And so I switched over to neuroscience and I became a neuroscience major. Well, honestly, I ended up doing that because I had some interest in the brain and knew I wanted to go to medical school. But really, I thought all the credits that I have now, I'm leaving here in 4 years, and this was a way to do it. Had no idea that it would be neuroscience and the study of the brain and the way that humans behave that would ultimately be what I would do for a living. But I went ahead and did neuroscience, finished Vanderbilt, came back home, worked at UAB for a year doing some research, but never gave up on my dream to become a physician. And so it was that I got accepted into Meharry Medical College. And when I got accepted into Meharry Medical College, again, I said, I'm going to do this in 4 years as well. And I did. Now, I always knew that I wanted to be a pediatrician. Based off my own pediatrician here in Birmingham, Dr. Jacqueline Stewart. But it was when I was in medical school, about my third year, as I frequently did, I would come home, see Dr. Stewart, and just go get a sugar-free sucker, which is what she gave to all her patients. And I came home on this particular day, and she said to me, I want you to think about a subspecialty in pediatrics. And I always tell people that I left her office very confused, maybe even mad, because I thought, this lady knows all I want to do is to be like her. But instead, here she is telling me that she wants me to subspecialize when I want to do pediatrics just like her. But I listened to Dr. Stewart and I looked into other specialties that I could pursue. And indeed, I found a triple board program. Now, before I go forward and tell you about the triple board program or anything else, I want to talk to you a little bit about my family life. So I'll go back. I was born to a mom, and you all see my mom on here, Diane Rudolph, all the time. My mom was a nurse. My dad, who is now deceased, he died in my third year of residency. He is now deceased, but he worked at a printing company. And so he was a paper cutter, a laborer, if you will. And so that's a very important part of my history, and hopefully is going to be very encouraging to someone else so that other people can understand that, as my husband once said, it doesn't take a doctor to make a doctor. Neither of my parents were physicians, but they understood the importance of helping me to follow my dreams, chase my dreams, pursue my dreams. Hold on. My youngest is calling. Yes, Franklin. Okay. I'm talking to my friends around the world. I'll take care of it when I'm done. All right. Sorry about that. Y'all know I'm a real mama over here. And despite the fact that the door is locked, he is very gently knocking. So we had to address him and his concerns. All right. So getting back to my point, you don't have to be a certain professional to be able to support your kids. You just need to be able to love them and support them through whatever it is that they choose to do. All right. So mom and dad were together. They were there for every game. In college, I was on the dance line. I was involved in several different organizations. I pledged Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated in college. And so mom and dad were there, as was my entire family. My entire family, which is another point. It really does take a village to raise a child. The more hands and eyes that you can have to help you in rearing your children, the better, because you can't be everywhere all the time, but somebody you know can step in and be there for you. I'll tell you this real quick for any children or adolescents that are watching. My mom worked in the OR at a hospital here for many years, for all of my childhood. And she worked at that hospital for all of my childhood. For much of what I remember, she was in the operating room in one-day surgery. And so, of course, when we go to sleep, we don't know what's happening, but what are they doing? They're not talking about us, as we might imagine. They're talking about things that are going on in the news. They talk about their families or whatever else. And so I was once at Six Flags over Georgia with some friends, or I'm sure there was an adult close by, but I didn't know it. But on one of the rides, one of my mom's coworkers saw me. When she came back to work that Monday and told my mom, I saw Brandi at Six Flags and she was behaving like a lady. They were waiting on a ride, and she told my mother what I was wearing, what I was doing, what I was saying. And so that's a point to all of us, that no matter what you're doing, no matter where you go, somebody is watching and they are ready to give a report. So make sure that the report that they can give back to your parents, to whomever watches over us, to your potential boss, to the future program that you want to enter, the future college you want to attend, somebody is watching. So it's always important that we are on our best behavior, even when we think no one is watching. After all, that is what character is all about. So, as I said, I went through high school, went to Vanderbilt, and then I got into Meharry. When I got to Meharry, I finished in the top 10% of my class. I met some amazing future doctors along the way. I met my core group of friends. I met some other friends. And even to this day, we are lifelong supporters of each other, because we all understand what it's like to be in medical school and to go through all those sleepless nights, late nights, the failures, the disappointments, and all of the things that come with it. You may have seen recently in the news that match day was last week, Friday, a week ago. And I explained to those that happen to be my personal Facebook friends what match day is for all of us. Match day is that day in a med student's life where he or she learns where they will spend the next 3 to 7 years doing a residency. Residency is the time when a physician actually learns how to be a physician. So in school, we get all of the basics, the knowledge that we need, but it is in residency that we learn to practice medicine the way that it will be. Now, you may say, well, why in the world is it called a residency? And truly it is because back in the day, long before I was ever born, resident physicians actually were residents of the hospital. They stayed there. They lived there. They were residents of the hospital. So they spent and committed and devoted their entire lives to the study of their fields of medicine so that they could learn to be the best that they could be. Well, now we are not staying in the hospital for that long of periods of time, but we do have a call, and in residency, your call means that you do spend the night overnight. Usually it's going to be about 1 in every 4 nights, which means that every 4th night you spend the night at the hospital. And my poor father never understood that. He said, now, wait a minute. You're going to be at the hospital for 30 hours. You're going to go in at 7 in the morning and not get off until 1 the next day. And I would always have to remind him, yes, Dad, that is exactly what is going to happen. So match day is extremely important for us, whereas graduation is extremely important for our families. Of course, it is for us too. But match day is the day that we've always dreamt of. And the graduation day is the day that all of our friends and family get to support us and say, congratulations on graduating. Now you are officially a doctor. So I told you that Dr. Stewart, my mentor, said to me, hey, I want you to start thinking about a subspecialty. Well, I didn't know of any subspecialty I wanted to do in pediatrics, right? Because I still wanted to do that because that was my dream. That was what people knew I wanted to do. That was all that I knew I wanted to do in medicine. So I still wanted to do pediatrics. But I wanted to listen to Dr. Stewart as well, because everything that she'd ever told me to do, I did it, and it worked out for my benefit. So one of my friends and I, also a doctor, Dr. Andrea Scott, she and I were looking, and we found this triple board program. And I said, oh my goodness, this is it. I can do pediatrics, adult psychiatry, as well as child and adolescent psychiatry. And she said to me, well, partner, and it's a long story why we call each other partner. We got in a little bit of trouble in medical school. And that was how we sealed the deal and vowed to remember that night. But she said to me, partner, I think that this will be perfect for you. You're good at giving advice. Well, little did I know, psychiatry is not at all about giving advice, but instead about helping other people to gain insight so that they can come up with the answers to the problems that they're having. We're just here to help people navigate through challenges in life, not to tell them what to do. But nonetheless, it looked good. I could still get my pediatrics and I could get something else too. So Dr. Stewart's recommendation would not have gone in vain, and I could be on my life. Well, here was the challenge with trying to do this triple board program. There were only 10 programs in the country. 10 programs in the country. Now, there are thousands of students that come out of medical school each year. And so trying to get one of the spots at 10 programs was going to prove to be quite challenging. Each program only takes 2 or 3 students a year. Indiana University, for example, where I went, took 2 students. So you can imagine that if you do the math, 10 programs, 2 or 3 students, that means no more than 20 to 30 students each year, with thousands of students applying. Now, I am a smart girl. I'm certainly not the smartest of the smart, but I am certainly smart. Do not get it twisted. But I knew if these people would just give me an interview, I would have my spot. And so it was on match day that I learned that indeed I got my spot. And here I am as a triple board trained doctor. All right. So now when we say that we are board certified, what does that mean? So when a medical student finishes college, she or he can say that they are doctor. When they finish their residency, then they can say that they have trained in that specialty. But when they go on and complete the board certification, which means that they take a test, at that point, they get to say that they are board certified. So I said, no reason to just get the training. Let's get the certifications. So the first thing I did was I think I took my pediatrics boards examination. Didn't pass it. That test is extremely hard. It has somewhere in the neighborhood of about a 70% pass rate. So I didn't pass it the first time, but that didn't stop me. I just kept going. So that's another take home for you all. Sometimes in life, you may not get excited or get accepted the first time. You may not get the promotion the first time. You may not get named to the job the first time. You may not pass your board the first time. You may not get accepted into grad school the first time. But you have to know that if it is for you, you've got to keep going. So then I sat for my adult psychiatry boards. You sit for your written boards first, and you have to travel to do all this stuff. At least you did then. Most of these things are computerized now, and you can take them locally. So I traveled to do the adult psychiatry. Pass, no problem. Then I had to do an adult oral examination because they need to make sure that if you're going to be talking to people primarily, that you know how to speak to people. Pass it, no problem. Then I had to do my child and adolescent psychiatry examination. Pass it, no problem. Then I had to do my child and adolescent written examination. Pass it, no problem. That one I took in Texas. All right. So then somewhere in there, I met a young man who swept me off my feet. And guess what we did? We got married. So I finished my residency in Indianapolis. You see that right there behind me. Oops, on that side, Indiana University. And I moved back home. I took a job. We were engaged. And I started working. And then after I started working, I said, let's get this pediatric boards out of the way. And eventually I did just that. Then we got married. Then came all these kids. So you all know about them. We've got the 7-year-old boy, the 5-year-old boy, and the 3-year-old little girl. Everybody knows Faith. Now, you might be wondering, how in the world did you get interested in ADHD? That is a very good question because I had no idea that I would be so interested in ADHD. But it was during my residency, my fellowship portion. So I forgot to mention that there is what can be called a transitional year, which is where residents who are in specialties like dermatology, for example, or surgery, where there may not be much primary care, super specialized areas, they have to do a year of general medicine, Some people do it in pediatrics. Some people do it in adult medicine, which is called internal medicine. And so then those people after that go ahead and do their residency. Well, after your residency, if you want to subspecialize in a particular area, then you have to do what is called a fellowship and become a fellow. So child and adolescent psychiatry is a fellowship of the general area of study, which is psychiatry. So you could have forensic psychiatry, child and adolescent psychiatry. There is, and I forget the formal name, but people who just do jail psychiatry. Maybe it's called, I don't know what it's called. I was about to say something, but I don't think that's it. Just likewise in pediatrics or in medicine, you can have pediatric cardiology, pediatric nephrology. You can have internal medicine and then do a subspecialty or a fellowship in cardiology, rheumatology, just the same. So during my fellowship as a child and adolescent psychiatry fellow, I learned more and more that to do this field, I was going to see a lot of ADHD. And I was probably like many of you were like, what the heck is it? Is it real? Do we just need to whip these kids? What's wrong with them? And then I got to see more and more that no, these kids don't need a spanking or a whipping or a beating or anything else. In fact, they have a medical condition. But before I even got to that point, I realized that whatever it is that these children have, it is causing a lot of tension in their home. That was the first thing I noticed. Either a parent didn't come, usually a father, because he didn't believe it was real, or both parents came, but you could tell that there was tension there. It was so thick you could cut it with a knife. They disagreed about the diagnosis, and especially if it was a boy, the dad was most likely to say, he's just a boy. He's just rambunctious because he's a boy. The mother would be in tears. The father would be scowling at her. She's looking at her child like, oh my God, please help me. I'm at home with this child all day, or I'm the one who was helping him do homework. And suddenly I felt, as I hope to be a mother one day in the future, at that point, I thought, this has got to be an awful position for a mother. And more I saw that as I was treating the children and coming back, not only were the children happier, performing better in school, making and keeping friends, but I also noticed that their mothers were happier. Their mothers were less stressed. The fathers sometimes would come around and would say, yeah, he all right, he's better. But on the occasion, a special occasion, I would get a, yeah, Dr. Rudolph, because I was just Rudolph at that time, I think you got it right. Thank you for being persistent. And honestly, I liked that feeling. I liked knowing that I was helping families in a way that I could see almost immediately, in a way that the kids, that the parents could get their lives back, could be what it was that they wanted to be as a family unit, and that that child could be successful in the classroom and in life. While in my fellowship, I also got a chance to work with some amazing people in the area of autism spectrum disorders, which had a different name then, right? We call it all autism spectrum disorders, but back then it was called pervasive developmental disorder. And so I got a chance to work with some greats in the field, some of the people who have written some of the books that we all learned from. And the program director at the time, Dr. Christopher McDougall, I got a message from his secretary that he wanted me to be in his continuity clinic. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is it. This is the last straw. They say I've never had any bad or negative marks. But suddenly I thought, they're about to put me out and send me back to Birmingham. And they're not going to let me finish. But they're going to give me one last chance to prove to Dr. McDougall that I'm good enough to stay here. Now, that was far from the truth. But don't we do that? Don't we all do that kind of crazy negative self-talk? But working with Dr. McDougall, I knew that I was going to encounter a lot of autism because that was his area of expertise. That was for real his niche. He had written books about it, and I was going to learn a lot. And so I went and worked with Dr. McDougall and found that autism was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I loved the patience. I loved their creativity. I loved everything about them. It was a very different type of interview from interviewing a family who had ADHD, because often when families come in thinking that their child has ADHD, they know what's going on. But autism, to tell a family that their child is autistic, really oftentimes takes a different level of skill, a different level of patience, a different level of time, because sometimes families don't see that coming. But I learned to actually be very compassionate with those families in revealing that news, because some people take that as really bad news. And we talked last week about loss and grief. And certainly, some people consider any mental health issue, any mental illness, just like medical conditions, to be bad news. Whether or not that's how you view it, some people do. And so we have to be very compassionate in delivering that news. And so it came to be that I loved autism. And so though I don't talk about it a lot, that is actually one of my areas of special experience and training and diagnosing and also treating. And so I absolutely, absolutely love it. My business coach always says, so you put one thing into the universe to let people know that you're really good at, and then you stick with that. But that is something that I'm also interested in and have special training in, because IU at that time was one of the three centers in the country that actually offered training. We had an autism center, if you will. So that was about my training. So then I came back home. I got married. We had kids after 2 years. I got all my board certifications. And then I've got all this paper on the wall behind me, paper that I have not even yet hung. And then I decided, oh my goodness, I still want more. I still want more. So the job that I took in Alabama allowed me to see patients only in particular areas, what are called catchment areas. So I can only serve the patients at that facility through a certain counties in Alabama. But I did not live in either of those counties. And so I moved back to Birmingham. And so everyone was always calling on me. We need you to do this. Can you see this person? Can you see my child? Can you see my stepchild? Can you see my neighbor's child? And I couldn't see any of them. And so I thought, well, I know what I'll do. I'll just volunteer and see some patients on my own. And I, of course, God is so good. He always just places the people that I need in my life right when I need them. So I met some people and they said, you don't have to volunteer. Just go ahead and open up a private practice. And so that's what I did. So one day a week, I opened private practice, and I still have that practice to this day. I think it's been either 6 or 7 years that I've been doing it. And that has been absolutely delightful to be able to serve people in that capacity. Well, then about 2019, 2020, the then first lady of my church, Ms. Barbara Young, said to me, I want you to put on something about the alphabets. That's what she called them, the alphabets. And I said, well, Ms. Young, what are the alphabets? And she said, I want you to talk about ADHD and ODD and all that other stuff. And I said, well, yes, ma'am. And she said, and I want it to be at the church, and we're going to do it. So we did. In September of 19, I was forced, because I had to do this presentation, to get what essentially became the outline of a book. And I talked about ADHD to those people that came there. I think we had, somewhere around 70 or so people came. This was awesome, okay? It was a free event. It was absolutely fantastic. Got lots of questions, lots of follow-up. And then it started weighing heavy on me to write a book. Well, that is when I met my business coach soon thereafter, Dr. Drea Birch. And I wrote my book, Shine, Understanding ADHD So Your Child Can Be a Star. Because at this point, I was truly, now I'm, 9 or 10 years out of residency, out of med school for about 15 years. And I'm an expert. I see ADHD all day, every day. You could literally wake me up from sleep. I could answer a question about it. I could go back to sleep, and you could go on and take that to the bank as true. And so I put all of my thoughts, all of what I've learned, all of what I've told families, all of what I've heard families say to me, put that into a book. And again, named Shine, Understanding ADHD So Your Child Can Be a Star. I should have copies right here, because I've been working on signing copies this morning so that they can get in the mail today. And then I thought, well, that's still not enough. That's still not enough. So what did I do? I now am licensed in 15 states in the United States. And the rest is yet to be seen. I'm not really sure what the next step is. My little sister at church, Candace, said to me 2 Sundays ago, I believe, or maybe one or 2 Sundays ago, she said, so what's next? I know you have something next. You've always been studying for a board. You've always been, writing a book. What's next? And I told her, I really don't know. I have some ideas about what's next, but I really don't know what's next. I know that I have a very loving family. My mom is still alive and she always attends my calls. She's a little bit technologically challenged, but she is here and present. I know that I have an amazing husband, Frederick Bowling, Esquire. He is an amazing attorney. And I'm just going to ask you all to pray for him because I'm a lot to handle sometimes. Just not because of my personality or because I'm so demanding, but because a lot of people demand me. And I try to meet the demands of all of the people who demand me. I have a very long wait list in my private practice right now. I have a wait list everywhere I work. I have people that, in addition to the wait list that my staff keeps meticulously, I also have a group of people who are in my inbox. And if they know me personally, they're texting me. If they know me professionally, they're emailing me. And so I want you to pray for him. My sister-in-law, I just looked over Angela Bowler. She says he is too. But she loves her big brother. He's an amazing big brother. He is an amazing dad. Oh my God, y'all. I have not cooked. I actually cooked last week for the first time since we were newlyweds. And May will be 10 years that we've been married. So he does everything around here. He's an amazing husband. And when you say your prayers tonight, I pray, Lord, that I ask you all to just lift him and pray for him because he is a superstar. Believe me, he is a superstar. And if you need an attorney and you're in the state of Alabama, you're not going to get one much better than he is. And I said it and I stand by it. Yes, he is to law what I am to ADHD. And y'all know how I feel about that. All right. And who else do I have? I have amazing sisters-in-law. They show up here. Erica, Priscilla, Angela. They show up every week. Angela be forgetting and Priscilla be late. But y'all have to forgive them. But they're going to be there. They'll fight my mountain lions for me and I will for them. Who else is always here? Y'all know my aunts Rosalind Young and Louise Colley. Both of them passed last fall and winter. So pray for our family. We are lifting balloons this weekend for my Aunt Louise. Pray for her daughters. Her birthday was just this week. Who else is always here? I've got some amazing church members that come. First Lady, she's no longer First Lady. My pastor retired, but Mrs. Barbara Young, she, I think, watches the replay. But faithful viewers are, faithful viewers from my church, Miss Sadie Gresham and Miss Luella Marbury. Y'all better know that those two ladies are coming every Friday. They're coming every Friday. And now that I started going back to church in person, they're going to tell me how much they enjoyed the show. I see a name just popped up, Miss Arlillian Kate Bushelon, a staple in our community, owner of Bushelon Funeral Home. I tell her all the time, I love you, but I would much rather see you out in public than to see you and need the rendering of your services. But we appreciate her. I appreciate all of you all. I really do. You all are the reason that Dr. Brandi B exists. You are the reason that Dr. Brandi B exists. I see my mom group friends come in here from time to time. They have access to me all the time, so they reach out. But when I'm not doctor, I am cutting up like everybody else. If you were on the video at the beginning, you heard Franklin knocking on the door to tell me that his brother hit him with a toy. I'm a real life mama doing real life stuff, just trying to do what I can to help the people that I can. And while I do not talk about myself and my credentials a lot, I felt that it was necessary. As I said, I mentioned on my private Facebook page about a young man, a Black man who has been accepted into the triple board program. And I took that opportunity to share with people a little bit about me, but mostly it was tailored towards him because he's the only Black person only black male to get that position. And the caption said that this young man was eating out of dumpsters, right? When he was a child, his mom and his sister were eating out of dumpsters. And now he's a PhD. He has his MBA, and now he's going on to the triple board program at IU, Indiana University. And one of my mom friends who I actually went to college with, she's a sorority sister as well, she said to me, Brandi, I did not know that this is what it meant to be a triple board trained physician. And what I said to her in response was because I didn't want people to know, right? The only reason that people need to know all of these things that I've just shared with you all is so that you can know that I have all the letters and all the credentials to get what your child needs, to get what you need. But when I'm just walking around being a mama, none of that matters. I put my pants on one leg at a time, like everybody else who's watching. And I know that it could just take a phone call to separate me from this life and what could be my life in the future. So while I am humble and while I do say that I'm just like everybody else, the truth of the matter is that I'm not. I actually have been anointed to do what it is that I do. And I have to separate myself just to let you know every once in a while that I'm not over here playing. I'm the real deal, the very real deal. But in my everyday life, I'm just like the rest of you all. I really appreciate you all for hanging in there with me. You all the people who have known me from church have known that I've been speaking in front of crowds all of my life. This is second nature. It was nerve-wracking the first time I turned the camera on. But once I get going, this is home. Helping people is also home. My grandmother, my father's mother always told me, out of a closed hand, nothing goes, but nothing comes. And when I tell you that God has continued to bless my family in ways that I don't even have enough hands to hold all of it. I live in a big house. There are plenty of windows here. And when I tell you there are not enough windows here to receive all the blessings that God continues to give me and my family, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. But what gives me most joy is watching you all be empowered, be engaged, be encouraged, and knowing that your child and your children, and even you, right? Because a lot of what we do over here, Focus on It Friday, is give you encouragement as moms, as people who care about the community. Some of you all don't have children. Some of your children are grown, but you come and you watch me. And I think that what you take away might be helping your grandchildren, might be helping the single mom next door, might be helping the married couple who just doesn't know what to do. And then you can say, hey, watch Dr. Brandi B. And I really do appreciate you all for doing that. I really do appreciate you all for doing that. The name of my book is Shine. And it really is because everybody has a light that they need to let shine. And no matter how important you think that your role is in life, you may say, I've raised all my kids. There's still some light, so let it shine. You may say, I just mopped the floor. And we're so grateful that you're mopping the floor because guess what? You are the people, during the pandemic, nobody thought about it. But it was the people who cleaned the hospitals that made it safe for the next patient to come in and not catch whatever the person before them had. Everybody has a role. Everybody has a job.
The computer made me have to log in again.
I'm talking to my friends around the world. Won't you come and speak to them since you're here? This is Franklin, who has now opened up the door, pickpocketed his way into the door. Tell everybody hello.
Hello.
Say, have a good day.
Have a good day.
All right. Now don't come back in here till I finish. All right. So see, real life happens. Real life happens. There's Franklin. All right. So let's see what we have. We have lots of comments. Ashley Jesse Grove is giving me a hand clap. Miss Missy Tucker says she's an awesome doctor. You're an awesome mom. You're more of an awesome mom than I am an awesome doctor, which means that you're pretty darn awesome at being a mom. Lola K. Hester says, hello, Dr. B. K. Downey is watching. So glad you made it. Irma is giving me a ooh. And my sister Angela is here. Erica's here. Irma, Someone is always watching. Hello, Miss Carolyn. Brian is watching. Priscilla is waving. My Aunt Eva. Oh, y'all, she's always here. She's all the way from Philadelphia. She's actually from Birmingham, but we let her go to Philadelphia a long time ago, and she never came back. So thank you for always watching, my Aunt Eva. Let's see. Lola KS says you're an awesome doctor and person. I really appreciate that. We've got Miss Jessamine Woods Smith here, who has known me since back in the days of high school when I said I wanted to be a doctor. ADHD is a mess. Yes, it is, Miss Belinda Jones, but guess what? We can straighten that mess out over here at Dr. Brandi B. Miss Catrice says it's unfortunate, but my son's father is in denial about his diagnosis of ADHD and autism spectrum disorder. He does not feel he needs medications or therapy to help him cope. We're just going to keep going and keep praying that things turn around. We've got Miss Carolyn. Brian says, I love your passion and I love you for recognizing it and for allowing me to do what it is that I do. Mama says, good information. Mama doesn't type a whole lot, but she's going to manage to get good information. She usually types as always. I'm going to see if that's coming up later. But thank you, Mama. Thank you for being a great mother, a great inspiration. And y'all know I talk about my mama all the time. I love my mama. And even if it weren't just her, I love my mama's story. I love my mama's story. Just an amazing woman. Started out as a teenage mother. First child at 14, second child at 18, and then me 16 and 12 years later. And who decided there's nothing wrong with me weighing tables, but I want my children to see their mother do more. Went back to nursing school. So somebody's out there right now, you're watching and you're saying, I never finished high school, but I want you to know that the woman who at 14 was already about to head to 11th grade, right? So her future was looking bright anyway, but that's okay. She still got where she needed to be, and she produced a woman who can stand here in front of you. And so never limit yourself because of choices that you've made, because of the no's that you've received. Sometimes those no's set us up for bigger yeses. We don't want to ever think about it in that moment, but that's what we need to think about. So not only do I love my mother because she's my mother, I love my mother for just being who she is and doing all the amazing things that she did. So if I never say thank you enough, I thank you. And believe me, my mama reminds me all the time, all the wonderful things she did for me. She gets her nails done and her hair and all this kind of stuff. And she'll be talking about who I need to send a cash app to. So, but I love her and I'm glad to be able to do that. Miss Irma says, thanks for sharing your life story. Very educational. I thank you. Miss LaTroya Williamson Boy says, I want to be like you when I grow up, and I'm going to challenge you to be better. Be better. Angela says, oh, about her brother. Miss Irma says, God has both of you, and I really appreciate that. And I know he does, my sister. I appreciate your prayers. Miss Arlillian Kate Bushelon says she's glad she could catch me today. I appreciate you. If y'all live in Birmingham or you're in Birmingham on Thursdays, go by Bushelon to the food truck area that the Bushelons have organized. I work long and late and have no breaks on Thursdays, but I see that you have the recipe coming, and those are some of my church members, family. So I'm going to try to see if they'll stop by when they're on their way back home next Thursday. I'm just kidding. Miss Belinda Jones wants us to pray for her son, and we absolutely will do that. Y'all, please make sure that we pray for Miss Belinda Jones' son. Our Lillian says she loves me, and she knows that I love her. Miss Irma says, I enjoyed the session. Thank you so much. Mama says that Kate is her other daughter. Yes, honey. Yes. These mamas, it take a whole village to raise these grown parents, and y'all better believe that. Priscilla says she loves me, and y'all know I love Priscilla. Priscilla has been knowing me since I was a little girl with a bed curfew, crying because I didn't want to go to bed. Mama says she wears the title proudly. Hey, Mama. Miss Luella Marbury says she loves me. My Aunt Eva says you are amazing. And Miss Luella, I do love you back. Don't you ever think that I don't. Erica says her eyes are sweating. Girl, you better get yourself a mop. She's got my only living nephew, Cameron, and I love him dearly. I need to call and check on what I've got for him. It should be ready today. Miss Irma says, God will continue to bless you because you're willing to share needed and great information. I use this information in my class, and that is my goal, that teachers, that parents, that anybody, as I said, who loves children will be able to use the information that I share. Catrice says your transparency is a blessing. And and I like for people to know that, right? I didn't get, life wasn't given to me on a silver spoon, and I want people to know that despite where you were born, where you were raised, and it's interesting and it's funny that the same zip code I was raised in is the one that I live now by choice, right? The houses look different, but I'm right here where I began, and that is something that my husband is very adamant about, making sure that children can reach out and touch the people who they want to be like. You can want to be like people who are right here in the neighborhood where you live, and so I'm glad that we're able to do that. Miss Eliza Allen, hello. Everybody selling hello, Franklin the superstar. Lord have mercy, y'all pray for me. All right. Mr. Daniel comes in and he says, blessings, and ask how I'm doing. I am doing very well. Thank you for joining. And Miss Latroya is giving high praise. All right, y'all. I hope this has been interesting. Somebody may say, I didn't learn anything about ADHD from this. Well, you missed out on learning who it is that's telling you about all this ADHD goodness. I am the one and only Dr. Brandi B. There are several people who can be psychiatrists. There are several people who can be child and adolescent psychiatrists. There are several people who can be ADHD experts. There are several people who can be pediatricians, but there are very few of us, as you've now learned, who can say that they are triple board certified. And there is only one person in the world who can say that she is Dr. Brandi B. And guess what? Each of you have the benefit of being able to call on me, to reach out and touch me every Friday right here at 12 noon Central, and I do not take that for granted. Miss Carolyn Bryan says, I was 15 when I married, but I went on to get 2 graduate degrees. My passion was teaching. So absolutely, it's never too late. Somebody told me not long ago, I want to go to medical school, but I'm 45. And I said, well, you better go, because as long as you're living, there's still life to live. And that is a message for somebody else out there, a specific message for somebody specific in mind. Never let age, never let circumstances, never let anything make you get in your way. All right. I left out some of the times I took the P's boards, because you know what? It doesn't matter, because guess what? This one right here, that one right there says the American Board of Pediatrics. And it says my whole name. It says it's issued to me. And that's all that matters. No matter how many times they didn't give you the job, the promotion, whatever else, it is yours. And nobody is getting any younger. If somebody says to you, it'll take you 2 years to do it, guess what? In 2 years, you will have done it. So start now, finish strong. You can do it. Of course, I'm going to mention my book, Shine. I only have the bookmark here now. Isn't that a lovely picture of me? But the bookmark, Shine, Understanding ADHD so your child can be a star. If you don't have your copy, you ought to get it. You ought to get it, because it is me talking to you every time you pick up that book and read it. I really appreciate y'all being here. Dr. Donnell, Mr. Donnell says, thanks for all you do in the community, Dr. Brandi B. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to hop off now, because I say every time I'm going for 20 minutes, and I'm over here talking to y'all for an hour. But y'all keep hanging in there with me, so it means you either feel sorry for me or you like it. Let me get out of here if there are no other questions. Thanks for listening to me tell my story. Every time I tell it, I feel like I'm empowering someone, as a mother, as a wife, as a community person, as an aspiring physician, as an aspiring nurse, as an aspiring human being, as an aspiring Christian, as an aspiring whatever it is that you aspire to be. You ought to be aspiring to do something. If you have learned, people say to me, well, won't you rest now? My brain won't allow me to rest until every child that has ADHD or any other mental health challenge is treated. I cannot rest. Now I'm going to take some vacations, and I'm going to go to some trips, and I'm going to have a good time, but I'm going to take care of my body so that I can do what it is that I truly believe I was placed on this earth to do. Mama says, so very proud of you. And there it goes. Always good information. Thank you, Mama. Thanks. I love you. And Erica is raising the roof. So I'm going to get out of here. Dr. Brandi B., your triple board certified pediatrician, adult psychiatrist, and child and adolescent psychiatrist. And through my Facebook live stream, Focus on It Friday, which is held every Friday at 12 noon Central, right here at Dr. Brandi B., I do my best to help moms, dads, grandparents, uncles, aunts, teachers, principals, educators of all kinds, pastors, and anybody who has a special interest in children getting all the information that they need so that they can help their children be successful in the classroom and in life. Please follow me every Friday and right here at Dr. Brandi B so that you can get this word so that you can shine and all the children that you know can too. I love you all and I will see you next week. Actually, I may not see you next week. I may not see you next week. So I will put a message out and let you know if I will be able to make it. But in the meantime and in between time, remember to always keep shining. Until next time, bye-bye.